Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at Naturally High Noon, broadcasting out of Burbank, California in my UBN Go studios, and every Friday at 3 drive time and Saturday at 6 on my CNBC NBC News Radio channel, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and everywhere on demand on very popular platforms, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Speakers, TuneIn, 32 Podcasts, CastBox, and I'm not going to say anymore because that's like a third of the list. And last but not least, on my YouTube, free subscribe. So go there. My interviews and views have now gone over 218,000 on this, my 449th consecutive week on the air. Get a little applause there. And this is the show about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K-words, no Kardashian talk at all, because I want you to be focused on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So if you've missed any of my past shows, anything from, Fran Drescher talking about how to reduce your risk of cancer, Marianne Williamson to Marianne from Gilligan's Island, to Neil Donald Walsh and Dr. John Gray, New York Times bestselling authors, then go to my YouTube and you will get to hear and see those interviews there. And today is no exception. During COVID, I have been trying to bring on guests to help with many things. One, when George Floyd happened, we wanted to have experts in talking about diversity and ending racism. So Jane Elliott came on. You remember that? She was on Red Table Talk last year. And Jimmy Fallon, brilliant advocate for, what does she call? Faded Black people, which is her version of white people. If you missed that, you need to go watch that. Also, when people were looking at, what do I do now? Brown cow, because I lost my job. And so I had people come on talking about nonprofits, Kessa Gooden, Sheila Mack, who's on her program. So today I thought I would bring someone on because I just found out, and it's apparently old news because it happened earlier this year, but I just found out that a very good friend of mine lost $500,000 in a Ponzi type scam from someone that I know well. I've shared stages with him. I'm not going to say any names, but it brought to mind, I've been scammed before as well, out of not that much money. Well, my husband, that much money, but we're talking about people who are in the human potential, or the old days, we call it self-development. And right now, when people are like, okay, now what do I do? And maybe turning towards, because I've been encouraging entrepreneurial, being creative, finding your skills and abilities that you haven't had time to hone. But in that effort and investing some of your dwindling savings, there is the need to be a little bit careful. So I brought the best on. I actually posted and he responded and I went, oh, that's the show we got to do. And he, as he reminded me, we met at CEO Space. We're on faculty together there. It's the largest entrepreneurial university, and we've been friends for many years. And it's his turn to be on here. A lot of his colleagues have been on. but he's actually in the fifth decade of his career. Dr. David Gruder refers to himself as a recovering psychologist and a professional troublemaker, drawing on the dizzying range of leadership training, consulting, and clinical roles he has filled over the years. These days, this 12 award winning clinical and organizational development psychologist, which I am too, mainly focuses on equipping leaders and influencers who are called to help repair and elevate the world with missing spiritual, inner and outer skills to succeed with their calling. Dr. Gruder's main website is drgruder.com, and his online course portal is gruderacademy.com. But we'll talk more about how to find him in a little bit. Please welcome to my studio, Dr. David Gruder.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much.
Of course. What's funny is you're one of the very few people who I don't have to describe what I do, because you do, like, we have the same degree, we do the same thing. So I don't have to, do the, what is it that you do again? So both of us are in that same boat, and glad to have you on. Happy to have you here. And there's a number of things after doing a little research on you that I want to get to, but let's just start. I think to give a little bit more context. This whole human potential field, who would you say was the one? I'm thinking Zig Ziglar, or maybe it was even before that, of people who actually began to say, it's not just the technical skills that you have that make you who you are, but you need to work on yourself to be the best that you can be, or you can be a life coach to help other people. That's what I sort of define as human potential. But sort of take me back when you thought this whole area started.
Wow. Well, I think it started over 100 years ago, really, with different writers who were writing about human potential and spiritual development, and they weren't often calling it psychological development, because this goes back to a point in time when psychology was just starting to get off the ground. But you think about books like that are very well known, like Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill.
Mm-hmm. Napoleon Hill's books were starting in the 1930s, and there were people before him that I suspect he drew on, even though I haven't seen that he ever gave them credit. So maybe it was just coincidence. Maybe it was just in the field, the broader field at the time, energetically speaking. But this is not a new field. It's just gone through various iterations over the past 100 years or so.
Right. So, even Einstein was talking about some of this stuff a long time ago. We quote him, as well as, the law of attraction and The Secret and What the Bleep. And of course, Bob Proctor is an old timer. And, probably the most well-known is Tony Robbins, right? Yep. Who has managed to motivate people. And I came in as a motivational speaker, I would say maybe 8 or 10 years ago, and began that journey of getting on stage and speaking and getting paid for it, which I liked because I know I look shy, and I know I'm a wallflower. Sarcasm is another service I offer, but I love the whole getting up and, seeing the light go on in people's eyes and all of that. And I loved my field. And then I would say 5 years ago, I began seeing things shift a little bit to the point where not only am I not getting paid to be motivational speak, but I'm getting pushed to upsell people from stage. And then the worst thing was, about 2 years ago, I was approached to speak, and they said, and the fee would be this. And I'm like, what? You want me to pay you to get on your stage? Yes, bringing you an audience to sell to. And I said, I don't want to sell them anything. My job is to give you tools. You pay me to, educate and entertain a crowd. And it's like, nope. We have people willing to pay $10,000, $20,000 because they make that money in leads and I absolutely just was so horrified that I began to withdraw from this whole, all the people that we know, because I'm like, and then worst case scenario, I met someone who offered to help me for free and ended up having to pay her $5,000 just to get out of a $25,000 contract, which is not anywhere close to free. And she made me feel like I didn't know anything, which was so bad because I kind of have built this whole brand and from scratch and done a lot of things. I know, I know more than definitely what she was. It was almost like an abuse. It was horrible. But anyways, so when I found out our friend had also lost her life savings in this, and now when I'm researching it, it's like hundreds of people to the tune of millions of dollars who were taken in this particular scheme from someone who we've shared stages with.
Yes.
And has been lauded. But I always had a weird feeling. And so my friend said, next time you have a weird feeling, will you let me in on it? So I never got involved. But so that's setting the stage for all of you. And I don't think I'm stupid. And yet I was, conned and scammed. So there's a lot of people out there who don't, who I thought would be of value. I asked David, could you come and give us some, free tips on how to avoid this? And he said, well, I have a program. It's 2 hours long. And I'm like, well, we can't do the whole program, but I do want you to speak to, kind of your experiences in this and what you would say. Certainly, armchair quarterback. Yeah, of course, you're going to know afterwards. But are there things that you can do before you get involved that will help in reducing scams?
Yes. Well, you and I have traveled very similar paths, not only in our professional training, but also on stages, and seeing that shift that you described from being paid to give keynotes to being asked to do upsells to being asked to pay to give keynotes. And like you, I've refused. It's not my way. It's not my path. And I see this as end stage deterioration of something that's gone on for a long time. It really, from my perspective and in my experience, it really started gathering momentum in the 1980s.
Mm.
In the 60s and 70s, our profession of psychology was very involved in the broader human potential movement. And what I saw was a shift that was about our field wanting to somehow, they fell into this trap, I view it as a trap, of wanting to follow in the footsteps of conventional medicine. So it was all going to be about psychotherapy and restoring people to prior levels of functioning, which is really prior levels of dysfunctioning and things like that. And so I hold our field of psychology partly responsible for this deterioration, because our field abdicated from the large parts of the human potential movement, the speaking side, the psychoeducation side, the inspirational side, the skills training side of human potential, and also became very symptom control focused, which is a whole other story in and of itself. But what happened when our field pulled out of the broader human potential movement was that a market gap was created, and that gap was then filled largely with some exceptions like you and me, but largely by self-proclaimed gurus with shallow psychological understanding, great marketing skills, and very little ethics training.
Mm. And there you have it. Drop the mic. Yep. People who proclaim themselves to be the number one coach in Canada. I'm like, where did you get that metric from? No names to protect the guilty. Or, I'm a life coach, and I'll say, and where did you get trained? Oh, life, the school of hard knocks. And what are you doing with people? So absolutely, you're preaching to the choir on that one.
Indeed.
It's
I've
scary.
worked with, my share of trained and semi-trained and untrained folks over the decades. And for me, the most dangerous person is the person who has a lot of innate talent, little training in how to harness it, and virtually no training in ethics. They're the
Hmm.
most dangerous people
Hmm.
around.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them, a lot more than I thought after finding out this, because our whole circle was touting him and his product, and so I was just shocked. But at the same time, this does make sense. We separated out as psychologists, and then so there was some space for people to come in and take advantage of, it's almost like a cult because it makes you feel like you belong to something. That's what Ponzi schemes do, right? Or multi-level marketing. Um, and also, what's concerning is, let's put this moose on the table. And those of you who are listening to it first time, that's my Canadian version of elephant in the room, because I was born in Canada. David's heard this before. But this moose on the table is there, the responsibility of the get rich quick scheme, all of the people who fall for YouTubers who say, I was, homeless living in my car, and now I'm doing this, and in a matter of a month, I've got a check for this. And what is it about us that actually believes in, and I was going to have her on because she's also another victim of this particular scheme, that, I said, if you came on, if you're comfortable, then you can, sort of give your side because you're bright. Like, how did this happen to you? And she's like, well, the number, I'm not comfortable coming on, but the number one, thing is, I didn't listen to my father, who said there is no such thing as a get rich quick scheme. Like, I mean, you just don't get rich quick. And so anybody that says that, if you fall for it, that's on you, boo. So
Right?
how much of that plays in?
Well, in the 1950s, this delusion that was actually a nightmare was installed initially into US society and then spread around the world. It was called the American Dream, which
Mm,
is really an American nightmare.
nightmare.
And that version, that perversion of the American dream, had as one of
Mm,
its cornerstones instantaneous pleasure, instantaneous gratification. And so it created a cultural context that just fed this whole idea of get rich quick. Now, get rich quick schemes have existed probably as long as humanity has existed, or as at least as long as economic systems have existed. But the acceleration of the belief in get rich quick schemes, I think, correlates with the installation of the 1950s delusion of the American dream.
mm. But isn't the American dream, and I agree with you, it's a nightmare, but isn't that was the part that I remember is work hard, get a job, um, go to school, do well, get a job in your field, do it for, what is it, 10,000 hours, become an expert in it, make more money because of it, buy a bunch of toys, die, and then leave the toys to your children. That to me was the American dream. You still have to work hard. There's no such thing as get rich quick. You still have to work hard. Um, But the nightmare is it never works like that because you can't control the market. You can't control COVID. You can't control, so you have, and, or you have all the toys and you're still not happy. And, or now that you have all of these things that you're worried about those things going away. So I was looking for, and I cannot find it. I don't know if you remember. There was a beautiful, like little blurb documentary that I came across about 7, 8 years ago. I think Morgan Freeman narrated, and I looked it up. I went to James Earl Jones and couldn't find it. But it was talking about a world where, alternative to that American dream, a world where every single person had a unique skill and ability that was honed, and its product and service always had a market. So there was not a rat race. It was not dog eat dog. It was not climb on the shoulders of others and choke them. It was this world economy where everyone lives symbiotically because everybody had something that everybody else needed and wanted and was willing to exchange. And all of this scamming and get rich quick becomes fodder, or pearls to the swine. It was really a beautifully, and I cannot find it. But I think I'm going to make one myself, because that's the dream that I have that would completely, talk about world peace, talk about, the ability to love and respect each other in a way that we just don't now, because unless you're a doctor or a lawyer, you're dirt. And even doctors and lawyers don't even like being doctors and lawyers. So, come on. Sorry, I went on a rant. Go ahead.
No, I certainly relate to what you're saying. And as long as we have a competition virus, it's going to be hard to install that, but I think that the competition virus can be eradicated. As long as we have a perverted redefinition of the pursuit of happiness as defined as excessive consumption, this will never shift, because that's not the original definition of the pursuit of happiness. Excessive consumption was an invention of the 1950s that was installed for some very understandable reasons that probably are maybe beyond what we want to cover today.
I know.
But the whole notion of unintended consequences, I think, is important.
Mm-hmm.
That there have been many things that have been done with largely good intentions, but without the foresight, and I don't say this as a criticism because this is life, without the foresight to anticipate what the unintended consequences might be.
Mm-hmm.
And the 1950s American dream is an example of that, massive unintended consequences.
Right,
But I
right.
agree with you. The future of our species really depends on us coming back to sanity around collaboration, around first of all, living in integrity with our purpose, our individual purpose, and building our vocation, building our career around expressing our passion in ways that monetize, so that we are able to live the life that we want to live, but where we're doing that as an expression of our authenticity, as an expression of our highest spiritual sense of purpose. And when we're all doing that with each other, then capitalism actually gets to be healthy, in contrast to the sociopathic version of capitalism.
That we're
What
feeling today.
Yeah, I mean, what
For
healthy
sure.
capitalism is that you have a passion and an expertise and a resource that is going to be valuable for me, that I've decided that out of my own free will rather than through manipulative
Coercion.
advertising, right?
Hmm.
And where the amount that you're charging is aligned with the amount that I feel an integrity with myself to pay. And when we have that exchange of life energy at the level of those kinds of authentic agreements, we have healthy capitalism.
Beautiful. If you've just tuned in and you're wondering who I'm chatting with today, and we're talking about some pretty deep stuff here, we are talking to Dr. David Gruder around our original topic. What I brought him on is how to avoid being scammed, and we will have some specific points on that. But we're right now talking about even the greater context of how we even got to this place where there's a lot of scamming going on. And with COVID, the way it is right now, and it's not going away, when you have half the country that doesn't want to wear a mask, it's not surprising. I don't know why y'all are surprised, but it's time to put that moose on the table. How do we move into something new? It's the only time I have any alignment with the former song and dance, but she did say, the former's wife, that to find something new, and that the idea of exploring other things right now is absolutely important, but to do it in a way that you don't get scammed. So Dr. David Gruder is tuned in here live out of my CNBC, my UBN Go studio here, and that's what you're listening to. So let's go through some particular points on how to avoid being scammed, so that what happened to my friends doesn't happen again.
Sure. Well, the first thing that's crucial in order to avoid being scammed is to recognize that too many people these days, too many individuals, too many entrepreneurs, too many businesses, too many people, even in the human potential field, have been brainwashed into doing manipulative selling. The kind of selling, you referred to selling from the stage earlier. Anybody who's been to a new age type of human potential seminar has seen speakers come up on stage and they do a hypnotic trance in order to get a stampede to the back of the room in order to buy whatever high ticket item they're there to sell. And so the first thing is that people need to propaganda proof themselves. They need to learn how to recognize when they are being manipulated. It's actually a term that was coined 100 years ago by the father of modern public relations, Edward Bernays, is manufactured consent, where our consent is being manufactured for us. It's the opposite of informed consent.
Interesting.
And so the first tip is recognize when you are being manipulated. How do you recognize that? Well, there are a lot of steps that go beyond what we'll cover in this program because of time limitations. But the biggest one you referred to earlier, trust your gut. Your gut knows, our guts know when something sounds good, but it doesn't fit right. I'll say that again. When something sounds good and doesn't fit right. Now, that's important because sometimes we're not being propagandized. This leads to the second point. Sometimes we're being shown, we're being informed about a resource that's available to us that really is an integrity-based resource. It's a valuable resource, and it might not be the right price for our budget, or it may be a perfect resource for us, but not today, not right now. So this whole manipulation around the law of scarcity, the delusion of scarcity, you've got to buy today. That's
One
right.
time offer.
Only this fee, only for you if you sign up now, right? That kind of manipulation convinces people to talk themselves out of knowing what's a right fit. And so the gut read is really important. That's the first important piece in the puzzle.
But if we swallow that, then the whole area of sales and marketing that teaches you have to have 3 offers, people go for the middle one, you have to get them to commit and make a decision right away, and all of those rules that you pay people to tell you, which never sit right with me. I totally get sick to my stomach when I hear this stuff, because I'm from the old school. I'm from Kevin Costner. If you build it, they will come. If you have something that is of value, it's going to be of value to the people. And then at the same time, I do run a workshop called Be the Best That You Can Be, and broadcast it, because you can have the best idea, but if you don't know how to communicate it, then so help me find that center for that. Because does the whole sales psychology of it go out the door? Is that all evil manipulation?
Well,
Sales trends?
let me tell you a quick story about that.
Okay.
Back in the early 1990s, I was brought out to a college in Ohio to do an organizational development analysis and recommendations. And in my recommendations, one section had to do with this college's marketing plan and recommendations that I had made for upgrading the marketing. Well, the college president loved my report, and a couple of months after receiving that report, he called me up and he said, "I'm going to be putting together an international conference of college presidents, and I'd like you to be one of the keynote speakers." And I said, "Sure, John, I'll be happy to do that. What do you want me to speak on?" He says, "I want you to speak on marketing and sales." And I said to him, "John, that's not my expertise. That's not, what are you talking about?" And he was a very direct, blunt guy, which I loved, because, you always know where you stand with direct, blunt people. And he said to me, "Get over yourself. You are an expert in this." And I said to him, "John, what are you talking about?" And he says, "In up until when you did the organizational development and development analysis, we were paying a lot of bucks to a Madison Avenue marketing agency to do our marketing. And we learned more from you in your report than we got from them in all the time we were working with them. We fired them because of your report." And he said, "Get over yourself. You do know a lot about this. So I want you speaking on this." And I said, "John, I'm going to take a leap of faith. You're seeing something in me that I don't see in myself." And what I had to confront in order to do in order to do this keynote, was I had to confront that there was only one version of marketing and selling that I grew up with as someone who was born and raised in and around the New York City area in the 50s and 60s. And that was the Madison Avenue manipulation version of selling. And I came to realize that there's another version of selling that's arguably even more potent and more effective than manufactured consent, which is the Madison Avenue approach. And that is called informed consent. But most of our colleagues in the medical field and psychological field and legal field that are trained in informed consent procedures as a matter of ethics, it's never crossed our minds that that's actually a selling method as well. And
Interesting.
so when we are selling from an informed consent approach, we're able to utilize these principles you were talking about in non-manipulative ways.
Absolutely. And I'm getting the signal from my sound engineer that it is time to thank one of the sponsors whose very clear product that is of value, bestself.co. If that's something that you want, go to their website. So we'll be back into two and two with Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Happy with Dr. Marissa and my special guest today, Dr. David Gruder, in 2 and 2. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Do you want to be your best self? Of course you do. But how? Dr. Marissa here, and you know me as your personal happiness cheerleader, and right now, especially now, it's not easy to be your best self when everything around you is all fluxed up. Well, I found a fabulous site with a myriad of helpful, easy-to-use tools
to explore and excavate your best self. From journals to planners to discovery decks, the Best Self Hub has everything you need to create work-life harmony and live a life you love. Go to www.bestself.co and use promo code Dr. Marissa to get 20% off. Discover your best self today.
And the second promo is going to be mine. So if you can pop that little movie in. It's with the little girl, Tabby.
Here we are. Mommy, what is love? Love looks like a pretty pink flower. Love sounds like I love you every hour. Love feels like your soft hand in mine. And love tastes like a bowl of strawberries. So fine.
Isn't she adorable? That's Tabby. She's helping me explore feelings.
Aw, that's what feels like love. Aw, yes it is.
I almost cut her off there. Sorry. Yes, for the holidays, you have to pick up this children's book because it's not only a book about feelings illustrated by my daughters when they were 5 and 7 that rhyme, that discover the beautiful, vibrant taste, sight, sound, and touch of feelings. It's also all proceeds and donations of the book, $20, go towards 8 Ways to Happiness 501c, which delivers free books to kids who have temporarily forgotten their birthright to happiness. So that's the promo that's coming from me. The next story time is free for all people who get the book, and that is on December 27th, Sunday, my sweet Sunday story times from 10 to 11. So register today on my website, drmarissa.life. And if you do so, a special bonus, my 8 Ways to Happiness from wherever you are, #1 bestseller on audiobooks. So that is my gift/sell. Hopefully that is not manipulated consent, but informed consent for you. And we are back now on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Happy with Dr. Marissa. My guest today is Dr. David Gruder, who is a psychologist and a troublemaker. And we're here with some advice on how not to get scammed as we move into new things in this new year, in hopefully the post-COVID year of 2021. And we've covered right now that point of informed consent versus the manufactured, did I say manipulated? Same thing, manufactured consent. I call it the weapon of mass distraction. So what other tips do you have, Dave Gruder?
So tip number 1 was basically learn to recognize and follow your gut. Tip number 2 has to do with what I call phase or stage resource matching. And what I mean by that is only we as individuals can determine for ourselves what kinds of issues or themes or focuses are most important for us to be addressing now at this time in our lives. It helps to have a roadmap, a developmental sequenced roadmap. But even if you don't have that, if you have clarity that, for example, my time is now to upgrade my self-care when it comes to how I eat, just as a for instance. If that's what I'm clear about, then I can look for opportunities that match, resources that match that objective of mine in the here and now, rather than be manipulated into FOMO, fear of missing out, with other things that I hear about that sound like they might be good for me and might actually in truth be good for me, but not today. So that's about phase and stage resource matching, We want to match the choice of resources that we invest time, energy, and money into that match with our deepest and highest sense of what's important for us to be addressing now or next. That's the
So
second.
being aware of where your deficits are or gaps are in what you want to fill
Yeah,
is
or aspirations are.
Mhm.
Whatever, deficits or aspirations.
Okay. I don't want to stop you. Keep going because we're running out of time.
Oh,
Is
sure.
it,
So let me just do the third
yes,
piece,
please.
which is once we're clear about what types of resources we're looking for, because we know what area of development we want to be focusing on, then we have to be looking at the issue of modalities, delivery modalities, because there are basically 5 types of modalities for delivering resources. There's inspiration and motivation. There's altered state experiences where people go to workshops to enter into an expanded state of consciousness. I call it a situational high. There is work that people may do around durable baggage freedom, clearing out the baggage that they carry. There's skills development for replacing the old habits with new habits. And then there's embedding the new habits so that they transfer from being skills that we're learning into being embedded habits that are natural for us. Each of those 5 modalities are crucial, but they're not interchangeable. So if somebody's offering inspiration and motivation for some ungodly amount of money, and what I need is durable baggage freedom, or what I need is skills development, then I need to not buy, no matter how good that inspiration and motivation resource is. So I call that full spectrum modalities matching, once you know what type of resource you're looking for.
So it's really an informed consumer with an informed self-awareness of where my gaps are and what I'm looking to fill. Okay, cool. That's the top 3, right?
Those are the top 3.
Okay, cool. So great. So we have some practical, application on that. I'm still going to go back though and say, but what if I really just want to get rich quick? I mean, I don't have the time to do 10,000 hours of learning a new skill. And this is where I think we fall off the beam, is that BS, the belief system, that that's possible. Is it possible? I've never met anyone who has made it overnight.
Right.
All those stories of people who are, famous now, they went through the paces of their lives and it was not easy.
Yep.
So what, what do you say to those who persist in, it's the lotto ticket thing. I just need to find the right, person to do it for me.
Right. Well, they're under a spell. And there's an old saying, I've never been able to find the source of this saying, um, and it is, mostly people change, not because they see the light, but because they feel the heat.
I love it. I love it. That's a bumper sticker if I've ever heard one.
Indeed.
Wow. Yeah,
And
step
so
away from the heat.
we need, I believe we all need to always be upgrading the compassion we have for ourselves about being in learning mode. And some of my most painful life experiences have been my greatest gifts. Not that they felt like gifts while I was going through them, but they
Correct.
transformed into gifts subsequently.
Yeah.
Some of my greatest learning has been through being ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
what I would suggest to your viewers is if you're willing to recognize that the notion of get rich quick is a delusion, and really start learning how to be methodical and strategic in building toward being an overnight success after 7 years or 10 years or 20 years or whatever it is, through hard work and strategic progress. If you're willing to take our word for it and just wake up from that spell, go ahead and do that. If you're not willing to take our word for it, then give yourself the grace of compassion when you recognize through the heat rather than the light that you fell into the trap, and allow yourself the gift of learning from that hard knocks life experience rather than beating yourself up because of having had it.
Very, very good point. Very, very good point. Because I don't regret what happened in that scam, because it taught me that I know more than I thought I did, and the value of that was worth $5,000. Maybe not $500,000, but absolutely to take that. How do people find you? I know you have we didn't have time, and I knew that, but you have some great things on your website. Why are we so divided? There's a little quiz in there. How do we find you and to discover more?
Sure. Well, my main website is drgruder.com. That's drgruder.com. And my courses, some of which are free or have free levels, are at gruderacademy.com. So those are the two quickest ways. I mean, you can always follow me on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever else, but that's what I suggest as a starting place.
Great. And you kindly agreed to an Asian Oprah giveaway that you don't even need to send. So tell us about that.
Sure. Well, it's my joy to gift your viewers and listeners with access to a free 2-hour training on taking charge of your personal, professional, and entrepreneur development, so that you're not manipulated into buying the resources that are scams, or resources that aren't right for you, or resources that could be right for you but not now.
Beautiful. Thank
And
you. Go ahead.
oh, and do you want the link?
Oh, yes.
So people can go to drgruder.com, drgruder.com/go/Dr. Marissa.
Who's she? Fabulous. Fabulous. Thank you so much. What or who are you most grateful for or to? That's my last question I always ask my guests.
Oh my gosh. The list is so long. I am so grateful to my wife, and I am so grateful to my higher guides.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Dave Gruder, coming into the studio. Go get that free Asian Oprah giveaway, drgruder.com/go, Dr. Marissa. All right. And now it's time for the balance bar, when I invite you to step up for more balance, and how you can stay in touch with me this week, not just on the air, but every Monday, Mind Your Own Business with Dr. Marissa. It's my Facebook Live and Instagram Live broadcast at 10 and 10:30 in the morning. I just did it a little late today because I was at the dentist at 10. I didn't think you wanted to see me there. And also December 30th, I am holding a competition. Do you think you have what it takes to be a radio host? Do you think you have what it takes to have your own podcast? Well, the competition is KCAA's version of The Voice, called The Host. Go sign up at www.nbcradionews.com, and I'll be taking you through the paces and discovery process December 30th on the air. Space is limited. Grand prize is a package worth $4,400, which is a month free on the air. Studio engineering, studio promos, coaching with me, the Asian Oprah, on the station that has Dave Ramsey, and which leaves no listener behind, AM, FM, and online. So that is December 30th. Also, I'm going to be speaking at a wonderful event, a Zoom youth-focused mental health panel discussion, also streaming live on Facebook. So go to my website to get the particulars. It's Overcoming Depression and Hopelessness. That's January 9th and 10th, and it is free, so it's a must-see. And then finally, please, please, please support my nonprofit, 8 Ways to Happiness. If you shop on Amazon, and I know you do, all you need to do is go and put in Smile Amazon, 8 Ways to Happiness. Use that link. Your prices are the same. Forces Amazon to give me just a little bit more for the nonprofit. So that would be awesome. Or donate directly. drmarissa.life if you want to be part of my Happy 88 tribe. Thank you so much. Next week, we're talking about romance during COVID, sex during COVID, dating during COVID. My repeat guest is none other than a wonderful friend that I met here at UBN Go, Damona Hoffman, who has her own TV show now, is doing wonderful things, but she's agreed to come on and talk about sex, romance, and dating during COVID season. So that's next week. Keep it tuned here to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get happy, get balanced with Dr. Marissa. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace.